The New York Football Giants are back, baby. Happy Victory Monday to everybody that reps Big Blue. On today's video, we got to talk about the defense. I've been very critical of that side of the football, as well as Shane Bowen through 2 weeks, but he deserves an apology, and they played their tails off. Also, Malik Nabers has changed life for the New York Giants offense. We have a blue chip player on this team, and damn, does it make it exciting. Also, we have some injury updates. Brian Daboll didn't give the most in-detail updates, but we have some stuff you got to know about. We'll dive into that. But first, if you are enjoying that Victory Monday feeling like I am, hit that thumbs up icon. Look, I don't know how many Mondays we're going to get like this year, so I'm taking advantage of it. We're having a great time on today's show. Hit that thumbs up icon, and let's roll. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. It is always a good feeling when the New York Giants win a football game, but it's an even better feeling when the Giants win and the Cowboys lose, and that's exactly what happened this week. First and foremost, I want to apologize to Shane Bowen. Shane Bowen, that's what I'm talking about, my man. That's the type of defense that you have to play with the bodies that you have on this football team. You were under the microscope. You were under fire week 1 and week 2 for obvious reasons. But what did you do in week 3? You came up with your best game plan yet. You had your guys ready to play, and they fought and they battled their tails off for you. You hold the Cleveland Browns to 217 yards, just 3.4 yards per play. Deshaun Watson didn't even cross over the 150 passing yards milestone. Your run defense that got torched against the Commanders, that got torched against the Minnesota Vikings, they stood up, they stood tall, and they brought the physicality to a football game. 3.8 yards per carry. You got in the turnover battle as well. You forced 2 fumbles, and you weren't consistently on the field. Not really any long drives except for one. Time of possession, you dominated that matchup. The thing I was most impressed about, though, was Shane Bowen. He kind of called the game with his left hand because the way he wants to call a game plan is bend but don't break. Lead you into the mistakes as an offense. But you know what he did? He brought the hammer, he brought the aggressiveness, and he dictated the pace of play. 36 pressures for the New York Giants. 36 pressures, the most out of anybody in week 3 as a defense. You had 20 QB hurries. You had 8 sacks and 6 QB hits. Your pass rush dominated this football game. And I've said it a million times on this channel. If the Giants are going to be the team we want them to be, if the Giants are going to be playing meaningful football games in November, December, and maybe January, it's got to be the pass rush that carries this team. And that's exactly what they did. Everybody got in on the action yesterday. It was a team party, man, in the backfield. Azeez Ojulari, I'm not selling my 51 stock yet. Everyone told me to move on from him. I'm not doing it. Played his tail off. Dexter Lawrence, the best interior defensive lineman in the National Football League, and I don't think it's close. Elijah Chapman, the walk-on, the rookie tryout, made a strong impression. He had 1 sack, 4 pressures, and a fumble recovery. Micah McFadden got after it. Jason Pinnock has 3 sacks on the season. Bobby Okereke looked good. Brian Burns had his best game as a New York Giant. His first sack, 6 pressures, and a strip sack that changed the game. Rakeem Nunez-Roches made some plays. Thibodeau, I think, should have been credited for half a sack. PFF didn't give him one. Still had 2 pressures. And Isaiah Simmons, when his number was called to dial it up, he put pressure on Deshaun Watson. The front 7, they deserve everything you want to say about this team. They are the reason that you won this football game. And if the Giants are going to consistently win football games, the pass rush has to dominate. $150 million for Brian Burns and a second-round pick. $90 million for Dexter Lawrence. A top 5 pick for Kayvon Thibodeau. A top 70 pick for Azeez Ojulari. This side of the ball has to be dominated by the front 7, and they absolutely were. The thing I was most proud about, though, was the ability for Shane Bowen to get out of his comfort zone and do what good coaches do, which is putting your team, no matter what your scheme is, putting your team, no matter what your scheme is, to have the most success. Shane Bowen is not a guy that likes to dial it up. But he did it this week because he knows he has the personnel, and he knew that if you pressure Deshaun Watson, he will turn the football over and he will make mistakes. Watson even said after the game, we weren't expecting this type of game plan. Here's the quote. The Giants, they're not a very high-pressure team. But this game, that's what they wanted to do. So they brought a lot more pressure than usual on down and distance that they usually don't bring on first down, especially. Second and long, usually it's man coverage. But they played a lot of man. They brought the pressure with it. They did a good job of scheming that up. That's what good coaches do. They don't just stick by their guns and say my way or the highway. They find a game plan that puts their team in a spot to be most successful and exploit the flaws of the opposing offense. The Browns, they allow a lot of pressure. And the Giants, they brought the pressure. Major shout out to Shane Bowen. He deserves a lot of credit, and maybe I was just wrong about him being in over his head as the defensive coordinator for the New York Football Giants. Shout out to my guy, WBG84, best account on Twitter. Giants 14 sacks this season. I believe it's tied for the most with the Minnesota Vikings, or number 2 behind the Vikings, is the most they had through the first 3 games of the season since 1985. This team's going to be special. If this team's going to win important football games, it's because of number 0, it's because of number 97, it's because of 5, it's because of 94, because of 51. Those guys, they need to lead the way. If you are proud of the way the New York Giants played defense today, kind of gave me flashbacks of the Super Bowl defenses where the pass rush set the tone. Type some D's down in the comment section because your defense won you this football game. Alongside the help of the one, the only, and the man that has changed life for the New York Football Giants, Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers is already one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. I was talking to producer Smitty before today's show. He says he's the 7th best receiver in the NFL. I was talking to Patrick Seatman. He's telling me he's a top 10 receiver in the NFL. All I know is I can go off the stats. And when you have stats to back up your argument, you're making a pretty good case. And I think he is a top 10 guy. Well, he's number 1 in the NFL with explosive catches. He has 6 catches of more than 20-plus yards. Number 1 in the NFL. He was the first player in National Football League history. I'll say that again. Malik Nabers is the first player in NFL history with 20 receptions and 3 receiving touchdowns in their first 3 games of their career. It's unreal how good he is. He's also the youngest player in NFL history with 2 receiving touchdowns in a single game. He may be a rookie. He may be just getting his toes wet in the National Football League, but he has already shown that he is the biggest difference maker on this team. He's also rewriting New York Giants history. He set the Giants catch record at 23 in their first 3 career games. So he's setting NFL history, he's setting Giants history, and he continues to impress me, even though my expectations for the LSU Tiger were sky high. Look at some of his stats and where he ranks in the National Football League. 2nd in catches, 1st in targets, 5th in yards, 3rd in yards after the catch, and tied for 1st in touchdowns. I love how Daniel Jones just trusts this dude. Multiple times last week it was, F it, Malik Nabers down there somewhere, and he went up and made a play. But I think what really puts color to the picture of how good and how much of a difference maker and how much Malik Nabers affects winning is right here. Malik Nabers on 3rd and 4th down. He's been targeted 11 times. He has 10 catches. We all know what the one drop is. But he's got 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's 8 of 11 on conversions when targeted on 3rd and 4th downs. And he has 3 plays of 20-plus yards. Money downs. That's where you win games in the NFL. And number 1, he's going to make that play. He made 1 mistake in week 2, but he's going to bounce back from it like he already did, and it's only going to make him better as he progresses through his NFL career. He has changed life for the New York Giants. And, man, we are lucky. We are lucky. Brian Daboll says we're lucky to have him. And I can't believe I can't relate to not having Malik Nabers on my football team. So I don't want to live that life. Type leak in the comment section to show our guy some love. Daniel Jones also deserves a lot of love for the way he played in specifically the first half against the Cleveland Browns. He was 17 of 19 for 178 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was the best half of football that Daniel Jones has played since the playoff win against the Minnesota Vikings. Both of those touchdown throws to Malik Nabers were seeds. The first one where he throws it to the back left pylon, he is being stared down the barrel by Myles Garrett. The play is on my Twitter. What does Daniel Jones do? Hits his back foot, stands tall, sees Myles Garrett coming, saying, you know what? I'm not going to let it affect this throw. Yeah, it was a little bit high to Nabers, but he got drilled in the chest, and he put it in a spot where only his guy could go get it. What about the second one? He's staring down Wan'Dale Robinson the entire time, using those big old eyes to move the defense so Nabers can creep behind the second level, and he throws a dart to the back of the end zone in between 3 defenders. Daniel Jones played his best game of football in a long, long time. But I'm also going to say that I thought he struggled in the second half. Multiple misses. That's a walk-in touchdown to Malik Nabers in the third quarter. That's the nail in the coffin. That's the assassination shot. If Daniel Jones puts that ball right here, Malik Nabers is running all the way back to MetLife Stadium. Also, I know that you see ghosts because you've been hit more than any other quarterback in National Football League history. But when it's 3rd and 12, when it's 3rd and 8, you don't have to 3-step drop into a check down, my man. You don't. But that will come more with time and actually having time from his offensive line. All in all, Daniel Jones did enough to win the football game. He looked great in the first half, struggled a little bit in the second half. I'll put partially some of that blame on Brian Daboll and the plays that he called, and I'm sure he told Daniel Jones, whatever you do, don't throw the football away. Don't take a sack. Don't put the ball in harm's way. But the Giants have to stay aggressive. You don't back into wins consistently in the National Football League, and I thought the Giants overall in that second half played not to lose, and that is my biggest gripe in football. Playing not to lose. Winners win, and winners go out and win. You snatch victory from your opponent. That's the next step for this football team. When your foot's on their throat, stomp them out. Don't let them breathe. You got to stay aggressive. And man, DJ, if you could play for 60 minutes like he did the first 30 minutes, I'm going to be apologizing on this channel. Some injuries to talk about. We didn't get much of an update from Brian Daboll on these injuries, but here's what we got. It was a calf injury for Andru Phillips that caused him not to return. Hopefully that's not too long, especially with Adoree Jackson. Those calf injuries can be tricky. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later when they return. Andrew Thomas, he continued to play the game, but he did get rolled up at the end on his ankle. We don't know the severity. I think he's going to play. I think he'll be all right, but I'm always scared when I see an ankle injury for Andrew Thomas. Micah McFadden had a back injury. He returned, and Darius Slayton, he had a thumb injury. He also returned as he was on the field when the Giants needed out in victory formation. Man, it was fun to see victory formation. Even though I wanted Singletary to score, it was fun to see victory formation. We will know more about these injuries on Wednesday as the Giants do play on Thursday against the Dallas Cowboys. So we'll get an injury report sooner compared to other weeks. And that's why you subscribe to the channel. When we get updates about the Giants, we put out videos about the Giants. Free, informative, entertaining updates every single game and week. And it is Dallas Cowboys week. F the Cowboys. If you love the Giants and you want free videos every day, subscribe, turn notifications on, and help us pick up more subs than the Dallas Cowboys report. Lock us in, your one-stop shop for everything Big Blue.